Hi, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about sketchbooks, art journals, the black book, a place to put your ideas, whatever you may want to call it. Many of us want to paint, we want to be more creative, but how do you initiate those ideas, and what inspiration can you draw upon to develop those ideas into viable concepts, more interesting art, the how-to and what to put onto that blank piece of paper, canvas, board, whatever you may want to put your art on. And for me, I was a bit confronted with that aspect and found it really challenging to really even begin developing my art because the boundaries were limitless and it didn't have a confined arena for me to really even begin. I was just too confronted by so much variables, and what did I want my art to say? How was I going to use my voice to display my thoughts as a writer would describe his words on paper? The what to paint and why. So I began creating my ideas within the confines of a sketchbook, and many of the sketchbooks I started with were just simply renderings, pencil, crayon, all two dimensional within the book, and mostly with dry mediums. But they offered limitations because they were sketches, and I had quickly learned that my interest was more in wet media. So I moved from the basic book, which had its own limitations because of what medium I could put onto the paper. It only accepted this dry medium. So I got away from this type of book, spiral bound books, which offer an innate ability to flex this book more easily than a bound book would. Here you can see one spiral and one is bound. And the difference here is that the stitching is on the center of this book. So you can't really tear out a page without compromising the integrity of the book and potentially having the pages fall out later. So I later then got involved with creating journals that are mostly spiral bound because it gives me that flex that I may want to use in the book, and I may want to go from one page and then move on to another page, jump back to this, or allow one page to kind of open up dry and then kind of go back to that page and finish it up later while I'm working within the context of another book. Many of us are now downsizing. Minimalism is in. It's a component to potentially how some of us may live in an apartment or may want to travel, be more flexible with the opportunity that we can present our art in a crafted, professional manner, but don't want to necessarily always do large format paintings, sculpture. And this is a compilation of ideas and concepts that we can bring forth that allow us to explore those in a general way and sort of just allow your mind to do one of those brain dumps into the book, go through that at a later time and explore that data further later on. So they are very portable. In addition to that, I can take a book and I might be able to get one that I specifically want to use with watercolor, gouache, wet media, and I can make sure that the paper quality is sufficient, that the pages don't buckle, won't bend, won't translate the medium to the other side, and alter the integrity of the next piece of paper. I can use any type of dry to wet medium on a better quality paper. If I were traveling, for instance, and I wanted to take a book with me and I knew that I was potentially flying somewhere, I could use the theme of travel or vacation and have that as a keepsake journal so that I could incorporate my own photographs, something I found along the vacation, and I can glue it into my journal later on. You can see here that I came across a piece of bark, collected leaves, and these are elements that I can kind of dry and press, putting maybe a brick, a shoe, a heavy object onto these after I glue them, and then I can come back to them and maybe use this as reference. I can refer to this as in terms of color, shape, kind of like my own resource guide, where I'm more connected to the object because it's something that it's like mental recall. I might remember where I was when I picked up the leaf. I might remember who I was with. I might remember a scent that triggered this type of imagery, and that'll help me expand upon the content of my work. I can also reformat a book that was existing and alter the content by changing the imagery within the existing printed book. So that allows me to use high and low art to create my own expression. A cost saver, because I'm kind of repurposing this book. Used other small books where, again, it's kind of wet media, and then I've limited the context of the book to kind of carry through the integrity of that type of imagery, meaning I'm using all the same materials in this book, so it'll have a similar thematic, a similar feel of content, and I could always use these as postcards and mail those out, because the weight of this product is such that it would allow me to do that. So another book that I filled and it had taken on vacation. And then, you know, there are handmade paper books which offer other attributes that you may enjoy. They are handcrafted papers and allow for maybe calligraphy or some sort of other translation that would make the integrity of the book as a whole seem different. And if you were doing something like this, which was a handmade paper product, you might think of something before you actually did this, what your purpose for the content of the book may be. You know, maybe you want to offer someone this as a token of expression, as a gift. It might be on a special holiday. And so that's more appropriate for a special event. And again, smaller books where I've used found materials while traveling and just collage things that I found in local newspaper, and it's very portable. So I might be able to bring a glue stick with me, some markers for rendering, a couple of crayons, a dry to wet pencil that when I insert that in water, I can easily liquefy that, and it makes it really quick and handy for traveling with. Larger books where you would do the similar content that you might find intriguing or appropriate for your usage. And I'll pick out a couple examples of imagery. So I like to take photographs, and I might use something here which initially started out as my photograph. I've printed it, and then I've kind of organized the coloration of the photograph. So I'm taking something that was presented in real life, and then I'm honing it down and abstracting that image, and then I could work on this or not, depending on how I thought the interest level would be. Make color Xeroxes from paintings that I've already painted, and then I can take the opportunity to decide, gee, should I make a series out of this work, or should I kind of stop